The complaint was filed in the morning, and the notice was delivered in the afternoon. The company was in the midst of an inspection team's visit for acceptance, and my husband Daniel Walker was just about to claim all the credit for himself and his secretary Helen, when unexpectedly, the inspection team ran straight into the Labor Bureau officials. "You'd better resolve the issue of ownership over the achievements before applying for acceptance." The inspection team halted the acceptance process and walked away without a second thought. What was supposed to be a done deal turned into an unsolved mystery, leaving onlooking investors and shareholders nearly tearing Daniel and Helen to pieces. Daniel was on the verge of losing his mind. The HR department held an emergency meeting late into the night. After calculating my salary, commissions, compensation, and a hefty patent leasing fee, Daniel called me with a face as dark as thunder. "Linda Green, you're a company shareholder. With the IPO at a critical juncture, what good will stirring up trouble do for you?" Over the phone, Daniel was grinding his teeth audibly, with the soothing murmurs of Helen softly in the background. Span yawning, I taunted him, "If it's no good for me, why are you so worked up? All I did was take my salary and compensation, enough to wipe out 3 years of your profits." Span, no way, you, the great C.O. Walker, can't be this stingy. Unable to even pay the wages owed to someone you're firing. Stingy is the word Daniel often uses while hugging Helen to criticize me. Do you still want the company to go public?" Daniel shouted. "What's the point of taking this to the Labor Bureau? We're married. What's yours is mine. It's our shared property." "Sorry, Mr. Cheapskate," I interrupted his futile rage. "We have an AA agreement. What I take is mine, and what's left in the company account is your premarital property." With that said, I hung up the phone directly, switched my phone to airplane mode, put on an eye mask, and fell fast asleep. Ever since this damn company decided to go public, I haven't had a full night's sleep in over 2 years. Now that I've made up my mind to ruin this whole mess, I can finally sleep with my belly up until the sun is high in the sky. As for Daniel daring to come knocking on my door, that coward, even the little poodle at my door yapping twice could scare him up a tree. Let alone the 2 giant mechanical guardians at my bedroom door, Urha and Feichai, who could send him flying. Not gonna lie, the thought is quite delightful. I even laughed in my dream, where the entire scene was me chasing after Daniel and kicking his butt. "Why aren't you flying? Fly, come on, fly." Chapter 2. The next day, I slept like a baby, though there was a bit of a headache waiting for me, even though I know these annoying things will have to be faced eventually, in a slacker's life. The motto is always procrastinate as long as possible, so I locked the door from inside, shutting my shameless father out. No matter how sweetly he pleaded or how loudly he cursed, I refused to open it. It's almost laughable. Green Darchyoung is my biological father, 99.9% DNA match and all, but having him is no different from not having him at all. When my stepmother moved in with her daughter, Helen, my father favored her over me, treating me like a servant. Even eating a plain steamed bun made them act as if I'd devoured their gold mountain. But that gold mountain was clearly my mother's dowry. Later, when my mother's dowry was all squandered by them, that shameless one set his sights on me. That wretched old man was utterly vile, dead set on making me a mistress for some big boss, day after day lurking at hotel entrances with my photoshopped pictures. Back then, I had a whirlwind marriage with Daniel just to escape them. After marriage, I got my own household register and stood even taller. Green Darchyoung strongly opposed this, pointing at Daniel's nose and calling him a penniless toad reaching for flowers, until I broke his finger and shut him up. Later, when Daniel's company began to thrive, he started bossing me around again, demanding that I scrape together money for the family. "Not a single penny for you. If you've got the guts, sue me when you're 60. I'm as slick as an old car." My little e-bike zoomed over his toes, leaving even the ambulance for a broken foot in the dust. After that, Daniel and Helen got together, and Green Darchyoung started yelling at me to die early and make way. Looking at Daniel, I can't help but think he's sick in the head. Back then, Green spat his decades-old phlegm right in his face, hitting him, insulting him, humiliating him, and now, just because someone says a few flattering words, he actually lets it slide. Trashed to the core. Indeed, I must have been blind. Glad I woke up in time. That's why, ever since I cut ties with Daniel, I knew this day would come. But I'm not afraid. A clear conscience laughs at false accusations. I've been waiting for them to make a scene. Outside, Green.Sir stopped cursing after a while. But soon I heard the lock clicking. Checking the camera, I saw Daniel had arrived unnoticed. And the two of them were tampering with my door lock. And what they were holding was exactly the evidence I needed. Green.Sir indeed has a criminal record. After contacting the property management and calling the police, I remotely positioned my two guardians behind the door, then pulled up a chair and sat calmly in front of it. Since I'm idle anyway, might as well get one in if I can. Chapter 3. The lock clicked open. Green.Sir peeked in and came face to face with me. He froze, not expecting me to be sitting there calmly without a trace of panic. After looking around, he started spewing filth. "You're home and didn't open the damn door for me. Just wait till I get in. I'll beat you to death. Linda, you're just shameless. If you're not allowed to work, you should scram immediately. Dare to upset my son-in-law. Just wait till I..." Daniel shrank timidly behind him. "Dad, let's focus on the main issue. Are there any dogs inside?" Green.Sir said there were no dogs. Daniel only then straightened his clothes and stepped forward with the refined appearance of a wolf in sheep's clothing. "Linda, I advise you to withdraw the case quickly and hand over the patent, or don't blame me for being impolite." I burst into laughter. "How exactly do you plan to not be nice to me? Coward, you don't even dare to step inside, yet you dare to talk big, you bitch." Green.Sir spread his big hands and was about to pounce. "I'll teach you what nice means." I kicked this wretched old man to the ground, baring my white teeth in a grin. "Gentlemen, look up." Green and Daniel looked up at the sound. As my two fierce guardians bared their gleaming silver fangs and lunged forward with two crisp snaps, one bite each, crunching down hard, Green was pinned down by the two guardians, each dog slamming him to the ground with a paw. Leaving him whimpering in pain and unable to get up, Daniel dodged quickly, darting 10 meters away from the door like the wind, his voice trembling. "Linda, you unfilial daughter, this is your own father. How dare you hit him? Your dad's leg is already broken because of you. This is murder. This is a crime. If you know what's good for you, hand over the patent now, or else." I'm impatient, my mouth full of morals and laws, my mind full of calculations. Before Daniel could finish speaking, I gave the command. The husky stepped over Green.Sir's body and dashed through the doorway, barking as it ran toward Daniel. "Hand over the patent. Oh my God. Help, officer, help." Daniel, the company claims to be a future-listed company. The top tech Cto.S Walker, the big CEO, couldn't utter a single threatening word. In a flash, he climbed up the little peach tree by my door, legs trembling as he pulled at his pants, screaming for his mom. Beneath the tree was my adorable little demolition expert, the smart husky, baring its steel teeth while gnawing on his status symbol 7 Wolves belt, its electronic woof-woof sounding quite cheerful. Not far away, the property manager and community police officer hesitated to approach. Faced with Daniel's cries for help and my friendly greeting, the officer hesitated. "Which one of you actually called the police?" Chapter 4. Given my full cooperation and the solid evidence, Green.Sir and Daniel were hauled away for interrogation, but given their relationship with me, this matter becomes a bit tricky to handle. Green.Sir jumped around shouting, "I'm your father, how dare you try to send me to the police station?" Then he clutched his arms and legs, moaning, "My body hurts. Linda, you deserve to be locked up and dealt with." Helen, who rushed over from the company, wiped her tears and pleaded, "Sister, I know you're jealous that Dad favors me. But this is all because you disobeyed him and made him angry." She looked at Daniel and then at me. "If you just admit your mistake, Daniel, Dad, and I will all forgive you." Daniel snorted coldly from the side. "Linda, you could even go so far as to kill your own biological father. How ruthless and vicious you are." Then, turning to the investigators, he said gently, "A cruel woman like her, who would harm her own father, must be dealt with severely, as her family. We absolutely will not forgive her." The investigator nearby wore an awkward expression. "Right now, we're taking your statements. Tell me, why did you break into someone else's house?" Daniel and Green kept their mouths shut, not daring to say a word. Helen tried to mediate. "This is just a conflict between my sister and my dad, officer. I couldn't take it anymore. She's only 20 this year, and you're 25. Who are you calling uncle?" Turning around, I pulled out the shopping receipt. "Comrade, this door lock is a top-grade lock comparable to a safe. It's not easy to open." With that said, I glanced meaningfully at Daniel, then at Green Darchyang. Daniel frowned, while Green Darchyang's expression suddenly changed. The already impatient investigators, after examining the invoice in my hand, slammed the table and stood up. The previously headache-inducing family ethics issues in the interrogation were instantly overshadowed, with the lock-picking and door-opening incident becoming the focus of intense questioning. Green Darchyang kept looking left and right during the interrogation, his words incoherent and contradictory, making him a key suspect. Daniel frowned, whispered a few words to Helen, and then fell silent. After cooperating with the statement recording, I was about to leave quickly. The hurried Helen couldn't resist making bold remarks as she passed by me. "Linda, Daniel and Green Darchyang are as good as saved. Once this is over, you'll get what's coming to you." Unfortunately, she was soon proven wrong. The next day, Green Darchyang was prosecuted. He and his fair-weather friends were involved in a public property theft case from years ago, and together they went in to share the rest of their wonderful lives. Helen, who had once flaunted her luxurious lifestyle, was now overwhelmed by the massive amount of stolen money she was ordered to return. "Daniel, I'm curious, how will he compensate for his so-called true love?" Chapter 5. Green. After Darchyang was sent away, I waited for days but never saw Helen come knocking. Just as I was wondering what scheme she was plotting, news about me and Daniel getting divorced started spreading among our circle of friends. Divorce? I couldn't help but laugh when I received a friend's call. "I'd be more than happy to divorce. But why don't you ask Daniel? Does he dare?" Daniel didn't dare. All he could do was threaten to make me pay, but he wouldn't lay a finger on me. Even kicking me out of the company was just a rash decision he made under Helen's provocation. Now he's being hounded by shareholders every day, interrogated by investors, and even has Helen reaching out for money. He must be regretting it to death. How would he dare to publicly announce on social media that he wants a divorce with me? "Daniel, let's get a divorce. Linda, stop messing around." Daniel hung up the phone in a panic. Just because he doesn't dare, doesn't mean I don't want to. So today in my social feed it's husbands gifting jewelry for love. Tomorrow it's check-ins at high-end restaurants. Helen couldn't resist coming over to mock me for talking to myself on social media. I asked Daniel, "He hasn't spent a single penny on you," Helen declared arrogantly in her high heels. "Oh dear, why hasn't the company gone public yet?" "I'm still waiting for Daniel to take me to ring the bell together," I hinted meaningfully. "If you want to climb up, you'll have to see if Daniel dares to get a divorce." Helen went back to confront Daniel, but Daniel still refused to mention divorce. Preferring to endure the pain and pay to settle the matter rather than bring up divorce, I carefully checked Daniel's recent spending records. They were pitifully few and meager. Then I looked at the transfer records. Wow, what an eye-opener. A week's worth of transfer records already covered Daniel 1/10 of his savings. Truly, love conquers all. But, TSK, Daniel's little stash is downright pitiful. In contrast, Helen, who used to spend modestly, has now turned into a lavish spender. Today dining at a star-rated hotel chef's table, tomorrow splurging on high-end luxury goods. With an easy job and extravagant spending, she's the very picture of a golden, free-spending fairy, watching the phone surveillance. I couldn't help but laugh so hard I downed 3 bowls of bird's nest soup, seeing Daniel munching on steamed buns with water, racking his brains to decline Helen's dinner invitations, all while gritting his teeth to transfer money for Helen to spend freely. "Check, please, beautiful." I wiped my mouth and left, brushing past Helen, who had rushed over after seeing my social media post and was now splurging. Behind me, I could only hear Helen being surrounded by a crowd of flatterers, boldly declaring that she would foot the bill for whatever they ordered today. "Spend away, show off, enjoy yourself. After all, you're maxing out today, and from tomorrow on, you'll have to tighten your belt." Chapter 6. Although I've left the company, As one of the shareholders and the CEO's legally wedded wife, I'm deeply concerned about my dividend rights, as the year was coming to an end. I organized and convened a shareholders' meeting. The main topics of the meeting were the compensation structure for the company's key management and the issue of shareholders' rights. All shareholders present knew that this topic was specifically targeting Daniel. The issue of the inspection team's failed acceptance due to Daniel's unilateral decision to dismiss me was also raised. Linda, is your salary issue more important than project acceptance? Daniel shifted all the blame onto me. But I've been with the company for so many years and truly haven't received a single cent of my salary. I innocently showed the shareholders my spotless pay stubs and the amount stated in my employment contract, TSK. The shareholders looked at Daniel with disdain, but Walker, mindful of their own interests, still tried to smooth things over. Your marital issues shouldn't be brought into the company. The workplace isn't the place for domestic disputes, Daniel shamelessly continued. We're husband and wife, private matters shouldn't affect work. In that case, let's stick to business matters only. I smiled. Walker, and everyone, when will the finance department settle the patent leasing fees for these past few years? The shareholders gasped. Why distinguish between yours and his when you're a married couple? The company is at a critical juncture for its IPO. These fees, I waved my hand. No personal matters, just business. The company is the company. What does the IPO have to do with my marital relationship with Daniel? Even if we were filing lawsuits and getting divorced, it wouldn't concern the company. A shareholder suggested, perhaps Linda, you should come back and resume your position. I was shocked. This is no joking matter. I'm someone who's prepared for a prolonged battle to get a divorce. How can we mix personal and professional matters? Divorce? I don't agree, Daniel shouted. The shareholders seized the opportunity to call for a recess, carrying Daniel off to the next room for a smoke, leaving me alone in the conference room. See, when I asked Daniel for my salary, they said we're married and shouldn't blur the lines between personal and professional matters. When I followed procedure to demand the company pay a large leasing fee, they brought up our marriage again. No matter what, they always have a way to justify themselves. Are they trying to get something for free? No way, not a chance. I stir the coffee in my hand. Just the smell is bitter and sour. What garbage. Chapter 7. During this time, I've been flaunting my spending on social media to provoke Helen, while using a burner account to pose as a venture capital firm boss. Constantly rambling about cutting company expenses and tax avoidance. Helen took the bait. No matter whose money it is, it's being spent like water. Daniel also took the bait, liking every post on the venture capital alt account. After a few interactions, this stingy guy suddenly became very interested in certain matters. I heard the company has recently slashed benefits drastically. Our explanation is to endure a few tough months together to overcome difficulties, and when the company goes public, everyone will be a hero. Who would have thought they'd now resort to reusing coffee grounds and even skimping on sugar packets? I wonder what the employees would think if they found out the truth. That their deducted benefits were actually used by the CEO Daniel to subsidize the lavish lifestyle of his mistress Helen. The meeting continued, and Daniel glared at me with disgust. Linda, regarding your shares, the board has unanimously decided to initiate a forced buyout. Reason? Helen walked in from outside. Company bylaws. If you cause harm to the company's interests, you'll be kicked out. She grinned at me with malice. Her silicone face perfectly positioned for a slap on each cheek, ready to bloom 2 flowers of humiliation. You've gone too far, Helen sobbed in Daniel's arms, while Daniel glared at me with a dark expression. Pathetic coward, what can you even do with those dog eyes of yours glaring at me? I blew the powder off my hands. Doing secretary work while playing the mistress. If you can't even work properly, you might as well go home and get married, instead of ruining the company for your colleagues. Acquisition. That's great. I'm actually short on funds for a new project I've been wanting to start recently. It was last time when Daniel got arrested. My 2 robotic dogs caught the attention of the higher-ups. I paused and looked around. The shareholders were all ears, their attention sharper than a husky's. Eyes practically glowing red. Linda, your professional skills are truly impressive, A shareholder began to mediate with a murmur, only to be cut off by Daniel. Daniel gritted his teeth and changed the subject. The theme of this meeting is about executive compensation. I, Daniel, am willing to sign an agreement. CEO salary, $1 per year. The shareholders erupted in uproar, while Daniel looked at me smugly. I was laughing so hard inside. What a fool. Truly digging his own grave. What a pioneer. A yearly salary of $1. Helen is probably crying herself to death in the bathroom. Ha ha ha. Chapter 8. Following Daniel signing the $1 annual salary agreement, several high-ranking executives who previously received hefty paychecks were also forced to take pay cuts. While the top brass took pay cuts, the benefits for lower-level employees remained unchanged, with signs of becoming even more stringent, causing widespread unease within the company. After Daniel took the pay cut, the company's financial situation improved slightly, but before he could even breathe a sigh of relief. Regarding my labor contract case, the company was forcibly executed, and the previously decent financial figures immediately turned into a deficit. By the second month, Daniel couldn't even pay the basic salaries of the company's employees, while Helen, who had just flaunted a diamond ring on social media the day before, became the target of everyone's criticism. Helen, could you return the diamond ring the CEO gave you so he can free up some funds to pay our salaries? My mortgage is due. And I'm desperate to make the payment. Yeah, can't even pay salaries but still has money to buy diamond rings, probably trying to deliberately drive us veteran employees away before the IPO. Helen ran to Daniel in tears with her torn skirt, but Daniel forced her to apologize to others, leaving them both parting on bad terms. Later, the financial situation became so dire that even the factory halted operations, with workers blockading the office building demanding answers. These chaotic trivial matters converged into a stagnant pool of foul water, pressing Daniel and Helen into the muddy depths, struggling with no way to resurface. But this still wasn't enough, so I began hiring employees and workers while simultaneously opening new factories. I recruited all my former colleagues to join me, offering a 9-to-5 schedule with weekends off, paid annual leave, excellent benefits, and an appealing work environment. The mini huskies and lazy office dogs were particularly eye-catching. Meanwhile, I found a highly suitable law firm that specialized in both civil and criminal litigation for homestays. Then I filed a lawsuit against Daniel and Helen in court, having an affair during marriage and trying to seize my assets, salary, patents. Is it too much to make him leave with nothing? He used company funds to support his mistress. Is it legal for me to demand he return his shareholder rights? They forged documents to claim my research results, sending them to jail. No problem with that, right? For a while, the scandal was all the rage, with office gossip spreading like wildfire. Just short of turning into workplace erotica, Daniel never expected I'd sue him and flew into a rage. Don't think playing hard to get will make me pay attention to you again. You're overthinking it. I pushed him away. Daniel stumbled to the ground with his unshaven face. I'm not a garbage recycling station. I don't have a habit of collecting trash. What a fucking idiot. Even at death's door, he's still obsessing over love and romance. His cerebellum must be underdeveloped while his cerebrum didn't develop at all. His brainstem is missing all the way down to his crotch. Chapter 9. Daniel has no shame. Honestly, I kinda admire him. He knows when to yield and when to stand firm. After being berated so harshly by Green Dartyoung, he still managed to get along peacefully. And now, after I pushed him down and called him trash, he actually bent over and started playing the role of a dutiful husband. What a terrible character, totally wasted on that good-looking exterior. We had a flash marriage back then, splitting living expenses 50/50ths, even for a simple bowl of plain kanji. I had to transfer him 2 yuan. Later I simply moved out to live alone. Yet he demanded to provide door-to-door service, claiming it was all for my enjoyment and that paying a service fee was only fair. At that time I was busy with road and couldn't be bothered to argue. But when his parents went on a trip, they expected me to cover the expenses, saying it was the daughter-in-law's duty to show filial piety. Seeing the 2 elderly people were kind, I agreed, and thus I became Daniel's wife who paid her own way in his eyes. So what if I paid my own way? It's not like I didn't pay my way into heaven. Now that I want a divorce, Daniel has suddenly turned into a model husband. But do I need his bowl of plain kanji? No, I don't, Linda. This is the plain kanji I painstakingly cooked, filled with love. I put down the kanji. The kanji isn't to blame. It's the hard-earned grain from the farmer's labor, and it shouldn't be wasted. Then came 2 loud slaps. The one at fault was Daniel, so I gifted him 2 gusts of wind to sober him up. Daniel roared helplessly, trying to crush my spirit with words and force me to submit. Linda, you're so vicious. No wonder you always target the kind-hearted Helen, and you still want a divorce. Where else could you find someone to marry after leaving me? At least I'm still the president of a quasi-listed company. Wrong, I interrupted Daniel again. Now you're the president of a quasi-bankrupt company. Please recognize your position. Daniel suppressed his anger. Linda, as long as you hand over the patent and return the money you took, we can pass the inspection, go public, and become a wealthy tech couple. I'll support you. Isn't that good? Of course not. This isn't you supporting me, it's just your delusional fantasy of trying to force-feed yourself soft rice. With the 2 guardians not at home, my little Teddy just barked twice, and Daniel got so scared he locked himself outside. With my money, I could easily afford 18 male models. Why would I waste it on a spineless loser like you? That'd just be pure insanity. Chapter 10. Daniel was driven away by me, taking his love-filled white porridge to find the kind-hearted Helen instead. But does the kind-hearted Helen need his bowl of plain kanji? Helen's kindness is worthless, and Daniel's plain kanji is even more worthless, so no one needs it. Daniel's company, once masquerading as a tech firm, was actually in the business of leasing patents. Creating a false impression of prosperity, it attracted a pack of bloodthirsty capitalists, aiming to harvest in the currents of capital. Never thought that one day, stripped of technical support, production would halt, leaving things half dead. Now Daniel can barely fend for himself, and without Daniel's support, Helen has fallen from heaven to the mortal world, feeling as miserable as if she were killed. The loans she took for luxury spending are now being collected. And without Daniel to back her up, she can't repay them. So, Helen started cozying up to a minor investor in the company. After discussing it, the 2 of them stole some technical documents from Daniel's safe, secretly established a new company, and started similar business operations. Catching Daniel off guard, Daniel watched helplessly as his few remaining orders were snatched away, realizing that the so-called core data had actually been stolen from him, and only then did panic set in. I kindly reminded him to check the surveillance footage, only to see Helen and the investor in an intimate embrace, along with the smooth and effortless theft from the safe. Betrayed by the kind-hearted Helen, Daniel completely lost control. Helen, I treated you so well, why did you betray me? Daniel stormed into the new company, only to find that the investor who had colluded with Helen had already fled, leaving Helen alone to face Daniel's wrath. Betray you? First, I'm not your wife. And second, I'm not your shareholder. I'm just a mistress you paid to keep. If you can't afford to support me anymore, of course I have to find another way out. Helen pointed to the dazzling diamond necklace around her neck. Look at you now. Could you even afford this necklace? Daniel lunged at her, tearing off the necklace. And the 2 ended up fighting their way into the police station. In the end, Daniel only had to pay a few $100s to settle the matter, a string of glass. And you think it's worth showing off? Daniel looked down on Helen. Helen muttered to herself, it can't be. This is real, really. No matter how many times Daniel begged at her door, the divorce was set in stone. On the day of her divorce with Daniel, the weather was clear and sunny, a rare beautiful day. He was already heavily in debt, yet still fantasized about using marriage to make me share his financial burdens. Fortunately, I had ample evidence proving I had no connection to his debts. In the end, he achieved leaving with nothing. While I successfully protected all my assets, all of Daniel's past misdeeds eventually backfired, splashing like filthy water onto himself. My lawyer was exceptional. Right after concluding my divorce case with Daniel, they immediately pushed Daniel into criminal proceedings. When Daniel and Helen stood together, even before the trial began, I was treated to a spectacular dog-eat-dog show. "Helen, how dare you betray me?" Daniel grabbed Helena's hair, his hand hesitating before ultimately not landing on her face. "How did I betray you? Daniel, your own incompetence is to blame. Don't blame me for finding another way out," Helen sobbed. "Do you know how hard my life is now? I have nothing, and I have to work from dawn to dusk every day, all because of you." Daniel was stunned. "You're suffering. You stole my technical documents, hired someone to backstab me, and now you're saying I'm the one who harmed you," Daniel shouted, "You venomous woman." As his hesitant slap finally landed, Helena's front teeth were instantly knocked out. Meanwhile, Helen, with blood streaming from her mouth, raked her diamond-studded nails across Daniel's face, leaving deep bloody scratches. Amid the screams, Daniel had clumps of his thick hair torn out repeatedly. Daniel howled, "My hair transplants." The two were ultimately forcibly separated, both standing in the dock. Daniel, the patent used by the company, was owned by me before marriage, but ever since forcing me out of the company, Daniel and Helen secretly hired people to plan, intending to claim my personal patent as company property. However, changing a patent requires personal presence. To deceive everyone, Helen forged notarization and signed the patent change on my behalf as my sister. Unfortunately, no matter how meticulously Daniel and Helen planned, they were still exposed. During the court hearing, faced with irrefutable evidence, Daniel and Helen shifted blame onto each other. Daniel claimed it was Helen who acted on her own initiative to secure the position of company vice president, making her the principal offender. But Helen actually produced the recording of their previous phone call, confirming beyond doubt that Daniel was the mastermind. Daniel claimed the notarized certificate was a fake document fabricated by Helen. Helen produced the transfer records, showing the payment was made by Daniel. As the two kept dragging each other down with mutual revelations, our lawyer sat there grinning from ear to ear. Plus one, add one more. Chapter 11. Daniel and Helen both ended up inside, equally matched, neither serving a month less than the other. Rumor has it that after Daniel got in, he immediately clashed with Green, the tough guy. Once close as brothers, the father-in-law and son-in-law pair now fight like rabid dogs whenever they cross paths, each battle only adding more time to their sentences, again and again. Helen isn't faring well either, disheveled every day, watching me thrive outside, living smooth and pretty, everything going my way. Unable to accept her own decline and having snatched nothing from me, she's literally driven herself mad with rage. Was it worth it? Of course. Those are all in the past. Now, the most important thing is that my two loyal guardians have ascended to divine status, becoming true gatekeeper deities. Especially after was seconded to the police station and his talents were deeply explored, I realized how naive my previous ideas were. What's the point of making high-tech toys? At best, they just create a small splash in the market. If we're going to do it, we should make high-tech toys with real deterrence. With deterrence comes global fame, and then orders will come pouring in, won't they? So, I quietly established a new company, latched onto a powerful backer, and caused a stir in the industry. Later, this even triggered a nationwide industrial review, which was completely beyond my expectations. But now, what's wrong with me selling a robotic dog for 400,000 yuan? You say my robotic dog runs fast, it's just 120 kilometers per hour, which isn't even speeding, right? You say my robotic dog can transform, isn't it just about being scalable and portable? Doesn't that make it more market-friendly? Also, as a toy seller, my selling point is meeting consumer demands. Consumers want toys with some weight, special features, and customizable options. Reasonable, absolutely reasonable, holding my little teddy bear, with my two loyal companions following behind. I stood in front of the camera. Custom pets, whether they fly in the sky or run on the ground, whatever you can imagine, we can make it happen. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, so feel free to share your opinions. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great stories. We'll see you in the next video.